Hello everybody, Adrian Plus here.
Yes, and Bridget, hello.
And it's number 260.
Now that has to seem significant, surely.
Why?
It's got 60 in it. Well, I was just thinking about 60. I mean, when you were just 60, we had a party for you, and then we came up north.
And?
Well, I'm just saying it was significant. 60 seemed very significant. It was the biggest decision of our lives.
Well,
maybe.
there were a lot of changes just around then.
Yeah, there were. Well, we
Big
came
changes,
up to join Scargill House, Scargill Community. It was a huge thing, but it was just after you were 60, so there you go.
I'm just trying to remember whether I felt it was very significant that I was 60. I mean, now that seems really quite young.
I know.
But
I know.
77 I shall be this August.
Yes, well, there'll be some people gasping with horror and some people sort of wanting to pat you on the head and say, well, it's not really very old. So
do you remember years
go.
ago when we were much younger? I remember in Germany once we were doing a thing and this man came up to me and said, I was sitting waiting to, and he said, do you want a cup of tea?
I remember it very well. It got worse.
Said,
it got worse.
I said, he said, what did he say,
I'll tell you what he said. I didn't rush you can say that. We were just about to do a really big event, weren't we?
Right,
and this young man, delightful young man, yes, he came and he said, do you want a cup of tea? Which was fine. And then he said, do you want a biscuit? He said, my dad always likes a biscuit. Yes. And there was something about being reduced to his dad wanting a biscuit with his cup of tea that didn't quite make us feel any more confident about going on with an audience of about 500 or 600 people.
Do you remember I picked a chair up and swung it at his head and he fell to the floor and I said, that's what you get for being insensitive.
Can we just point out that is totally untrue?
Which bit? Oh, the
whole of it. We just said very nicely, thank you so much, that's very nice. But we did feel diminished.
Well, anyway, that's probably 20 years ago or more. So I don't know what we look like then. Anyway, I have been thinking about things, so I don't know if you have, but one of the things I've thought about is what happened to us. When did we go to that farm shop cafe? Yesterday, day before yesterday. And
I think you should be able to remember it.
Well, you say that, but I mean, being away at the weekend also, it kind of messes your day awareness up. But at the moment, we really need some nice things because the world.
I think everybody does.
And when we have a day free or an afternoon free or something, we usually say, "Where shall we go?" You know, we'll go out at least once in the day, and we're coffee beans. So
and also it was great because we have a dog, and that does make you go out at least once a day. So there you go.
Shouldn't be saying that in front of us. You'll want one. So we go out somewhere. Okay, so. We chose somewhere which we knew was quite nice, this cafe, and we went there. We used to go there because we took our grandson, Rafa, who is now 4, but was then very small, wasn't he?
Well, they had a nice little area. Anyone who's got children, grandchildren or whatever knows that if you find a cafe which has got a little play area in it, this one had a little kitchen area and some books and everything.
And right next to the tables where you sit, which is the best thing, because then you can sit and have your coffee or whatever and not have to actually worry too much. But anyway, so we go to the cafe with no hope of anything very remarkable happening, right? And some people are going to think what I'm going to say now is very unremarkable. So here's the question. Why did it please us so much? What it was that I chose something and then you chose something or something and then you said, have you seen this other thing on the menu? Right.
This is so British. You realise this is so English.
Well, I'll have to lump it, won't they?
Because it was
Borneo or whatever they're saying.
To do with scones,
anyway,
it
was scones. And
it was a scone platter.
The dish was a scone platter. And you could have, it consisted of a cheese scone. No, what went with the cheese scone?
Well, with the cheese scone, I'm sure. Are we really going to go through all this?
Come on, yes, go on.
Are you serious?
Yes, we were really pleased about
it.
The
cheese scone had. I hope this is it had cream cheese with it, with a little pea shoot on the top of it, just to make it look pretty, and a little pot of onion marmalade, which, if you've never tasted it, is delicious, and a tiny pot of grated cheese. So that was the cheese scone.
Okay, so that's the cheese scone. Now, before we go any further, normally. It may sound trivial, but this is our life.
It does sound trivial.
But it isn't. Normally, when we go to a cafe, we might have a cheese scone.
Right, we might. We like
Or
them.
we might have a fruit scone.
Right.
If we're feeling particularly wild, no, not really, but we might have a scone,
a fruit scone
with jam and
cream. Right.
On this occasion, this particular dish was both of those things. Now, although that sounds very small, it was perfect for the day. Not only that, but unusually, we had bought 2 newspapers, so we were enjoying having the papers there, and we were thinking, we can have a cheese scone with all those things with it.
The fruit scone
had mascarpone
with a strawberry on top.
Yes.
And jam and butter and a little pot of proper clotted cream.
Real pot
and you could have tea or coffee. Yeah. And we're not telling you where this farm shop is, because everybody will go there.
And it was £16 for the 2 of us. Something
I know.
Like
well,
that. Anyway.
I'm sure if you somewhere like Australia, that will seem like a fortune, but actually,
it was pretty good. I can
tell
you, times have changed.
I know.
Anyway, we really, really enjoyed it, and I think it was something to do with the fact that when you're in a familiar context, and you know it really well, and something different happens, it creates a little positive bristle, and I really, whatever anyone else thinks or anyone says about it, I really, really enjoyed that thing. And there's a book, when I was ill years ago, a book I found very helpful was called Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People?
Goodness me, that's ages ago. It was written, I think, by a Jewish writer.
Rabbi.
And it really threw that up, because that is the fundamental question for all of us, isn't it? That's what bewilders
one
us.
Of the questions
How can such bad things happen to good people?
Well, the great thing about the title was that you had to sort of slip quietly into the role of the good person to whom bad things are happening. So,
really? I hadn't really thought of that. I was thinking of other people.
No,
I wasn't thinking.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I found the book very helpful because
because we've been
going through a lot, and
and because you would think that a Jewish writer would say maybe that bad things happen to you because you have upset God, or because you have done something that creates the ethos.
Well, I don't think most modern Jewish
I'm just saying but all right then, most Christians deep down might think, what have I done?
More to the point.
What have what have I done that this could happen to me?
Despite the fact that we have new teaching on this and various attitudes to it, the fact remains that the child in us very quickly assumes that if something bad happens to us, we probably brought it on ourselves.
Although, if you're thinking about somebody else, that isn't the way you feel, is it? I'm thinking of one or two people that we know. I mean, our banana hater in chief being one of them. It's impossible to understand why bad things happen to people who have done nothing to deserve them. So that hangs there, doesn't it?
But that's an observer's view, isn't it? When you're the one in it, you do think all sorts of things. And there is nothing called, talking back to my scones, why good things happen to pretty average people.
Well, you said why should surprisingly good things happen to pretty average people?
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. Anyway, I didn't think, do I deserve this? I just enjoyed it very much.
We did.
And actually, while we were there at this place, I had another memory of a moment which was about 4 seconds long, where I was sitting outside on a chair, and I arrived there with a drink or something and sat at my table, and sitting on the wall were 2 young people. I suppose they must have been perhaps mid-20s, something like that.
I remember, and next to them was a pram, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember that because I had no clue to what they were going to say. But they were sitting on the wall, and in fact, I don't think there was a pram.
No, I don't. I think I've got that wrong, Adrian. I think that's right. There was nothing. There was just them, wasn't there?
They were gazing into the distance with a look of beatific peace on their faces. And I said to them, as is my wont, I said, "Excuse me, but you look so happy. You're simply sitting there, looking out over the woodland over there. What is making you so content?" And the man said to me, with a smile on his face, he said, "In that car, which you can't see."
Well, but that's what was next to them.
That's right. Behind the wall, he said, behind the wall, there is a car with 2 sleeping babies in it.
That's right.
So
they could see them, and the babies were safe, but
yeah.
we couldn't see them.
So for a time that they knew would be limited, but was delicious, they were able to be at peace. I don't know why it meant so much to me, but I think it was their wonderful reaction to what I said, as though I wouldn't understand. But
I think there are moments like that, and I was thinking of another one, Adrian, where we met a young couple and they had triplets. I don't know if you remember that. We met the babies when they were about 2, I think, or 1.5 or something.
Yeah.
And they were telling us that these little ones had started going 1 day a week to a nursery, and one of them said to the other after they'd gone, "Can you hear anything?" Well, they were used to hearing 3 babies all the time. You know, we watched the routine, didn't we, of them feeding them and changing them and all the rest of it. It was a full-time job, and they weren't there. And the other one said, "No, I can't hear anything." And her husband said, "No, we cannot hear anything. In our house is silence."
Yes.
And they sat there apparently just thinking, in our house is silence. Our 3 little ones are all fine, and in our house is silence.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Which would have been rare with 3.
It's so rare, as I
children,
said.
right?
Yeah.
And earlier today, I was looking on the sideboard in our other room, and there might be here now, two small blue dishes, which we're very fond of. They are the same colour as I can't remember what the sherry. What's the sherry in the blue bottle?
Yeah, well, inside them, so they're fragile blue pottery, and inside is something made of Bristol cream sherry bottle, which is
very,
crushed,
very
beautiful.
And they're very beautiful, right?
But they don't connect with a beautiful, wonderful memory, do they?
When I looked at them, I felt such joy, and then I thought, because I really love them, but then I remembered where we got them and the story of how we got them. And it just shows that you know, when you do get something really nice, it doesn't always come smoothly to you.
Well, I don't think it did with the parents of the triplets, Adrian. No. That's the whole point, really.
Right, so I at the end of this little story, which we're going to tell you now, I want those of you who are listening to answer a question, but you won't tell you what the question is yet. Right. We're on holiday somewhere, and we learn, through our careful study, that there's a pottery at the top of a hill. Mm-hmm. So we're in the car, we drive up to the pottery, and when we get there, it's very quiet, isn't it?
Mm. There was nobody there at all, was there?
Nobody where we walked or looked around. There wasn't anybody. Right, so what did we do?
Well, we walked around and looked at things and peered around, and in a barn was the biggest sort of vase, huge vase that we'd probably ever seen. But it was beautiful. It was white, wasn't it?
It wasn't fired yet.
Well, we didn't know that, did we?
It was just standing there.
So it was just standing there. We knew nothing about firing or about there was a very large vase in a pottery.
So this is one of those moments upon which change happens. I reached out with my hand to touch the handle on the vase.
You did.
And
you touched it with your finger.
I didn't touch it very hard, but the handle dropped off.
Because it hadn't been fired.
Right. So, now we've knocked the handle off a vase that has been very carefully made. There's nobody around. We go up to the house and we hang around, actually, from my point of view, to make sure there's nobody there before we run away. But...
Oh, we so wanted to run away.
Well,
we could have done. Yeah. Nobody would have known we were there.
There was nobody there. Nobody there. So we made the decision that we would wait till somebody came back and we would tell them that they had broken their vase.
Yes, it was a long wait.
In case you think that was easy, we talk about morality, especially Christians do, as though it's a piece of cake, you know. You look at the choices and you make the right choice and et cetera, et cetera. But actually, one part of me was saying, look, this is awful, you know. We haven't got much money as it is. What are we going to do? Anyway, we waited, and eventually the owners came back.
Well, the potter came back.
Yeah. It was a woman, wasn't it?
Yes.
And we said to her, I can't remember how I managed to get the words out of my mouth. I said, your piece of pottery in the barn.
You've really got to imagine how big this thing is. It's huge.
Yes. I said, I'm afraid I've damaged it. And she didn't explode or anything, but she said, oh dear. And we said, so we've been waiting for you to tell you.
Yeah. So we
went
followed
into the
her,
house
didn't
with
we?
her.
We followed her to see the pot.
And then we went in the house.
Yeah.
And nothing had really happened yet. She showed us these dishes that she made, which are the ones that are sitting on the side in the other room. And we loved them. And we perked up a little bit because we thought we could buy a couple of those dishes. And then I thought, that's not really the point. And we said to her, if you feel we should pay you for the vase, then we will. We will.
And she said, yes, could you pay me £50, please?
That's
because
correct.
I'm going to have to repair the vase. And I think deep in our hearts, we both at that moment, £50
we should have run.
Yes, £50 might not sound all that much, but it was a heck of a lot of money.
We should have run, but of course afterwards, I was glad we didn't, and I really was glad we didn't. But here's my question to everybody listening: what would you have done? Now, until you're in that position, it's virtually impossible to know, because we really were short of money. And we didn't know what she'd ask us to give her, but we did.
No, we just bought these 2 little blue vases because we thought they would make her like us, because we bought these 2 little vases. But actually that was nothing to what we'd just done to her thing, which she would be able to repair because it hadn't been fired, but even so,
but we do love them.
It.
They're lovely.
We love them, but they do have some funny old memories. I'd love to know, Adrian, if anyone else has got an object which actually, when they look at it, they both laugh, and also it kind of, I don't know, fills them with an emotion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's odd remembering that, but I don't think I think of that every time I look at them, but they are lovely. And I remember us looking at the blue in the depths of these things and being overjoyed that we owned them.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
There are moments, though, aren't there? Even when you're a child, there are moments when something that feels like a disaster can have, when you look back, have a residue of something else that's lovely, like our little blue dishes. Yeah.
I remember as a small child. I mean, now that Rafa is 4, a lot of memories coming back of my own childhood at the moment, which is odd, really. In fact, right through my life, things I've not thought about for a long time. But I remember when I was at primary school.
Wouldn't that be infant school?
Infant school.
You had a different system to me. I mean, you went to infant school, then you went to big boys' school, and presumably the girls went to big girls' school.
Yes.
And that was 8 to 11.
They didn't have to be big.
Well, but that's what. That can't be what it was actually called. Big Boys School, was it, or was it just the way you thought of it?
I only ever heard it called the Big Boys School.
Okay, so you're talking now about being
the Big Boys
pre.
This is the primary one, yeah, which is down in the village. The Big Boys School was up quite a long walk, actually. Anyway, so each of us had a book we were reading, which was supposed to fit the level of attainment that we'd achieved.
Janet and John, was
reading.
it?
No. Okay. No, it wasn't. I went up because it was my turn. The teacher called me up because it was my turn to come and read a little bit of the book I was on. So I went up with my book, and she put it on the desk, and I sat just next to her, and I started to read it. And she suddenly said, and one of the reasons I remember this so well is because she said it in a slightly shocked voice. She said, "This is the wrong book." And I thought, what have I done? Have I picked up the wrong book, chosen the wrong book? I mean, I can't remember who gave me the book, but this is my book I read. And I thought, oh no, because I couldn't stand being told off then. I love it now.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't stand it. And I didn't know what to say. And then she said, "You're a much better reader than this book. You're much better than this.
No wonder that's a memory that you remember.
I'll go and find you a book that will be a book which will help you to move forward." And I was so relieved at the way in which joy suddenly overtook the fear that I'd screwed up.
So you can still remember the fear and the joy?
I remember a sharp, sharp shock.
Yeah.
Because it sounded as though I'd made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I remember the joy wasn't sharp, it was flowing as she went to get a book, because I love books. And I thought, it was great. Not only was I a better reader than I thought I was, but I was going to have a book that would challenge me a bit. And it was wonderful, that moment. Yeah.
Well, it stayed with you, so it must have been a huge memory. But when you look at it, it's a little thing, it's a moment in time.
A tiny moment,
yeah. Something really lovely, coming right back to our scones. Yeah. But yes. I don't know why I'm laughing, because it has always been like that. I think for everyone it will be just something really nice that you weren't expecting, especially when you were expecting either something very ordinary or something scary. Yeah, when something, yeah.
I was thinking a little bit also about Jesus and whether he had any treats. And I remember someone once...
I don't think he had a lot.
He didn't have many, but I remember someone saying to me once he didn't have any treats. And when everyone says anything like that about the Bible, I always think this is probably not true. Whenever anyone says never or not or no or it's not like that. And there were, of course.
Well, okay, let's just have one.
Well, the one that springs to mind, of course, as others will already have thought, I'm sure, was the lady with the ointment. Yeah. I'm told this ointment was worth the same amount of money as you might earn in a year. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not. But she broke the bottle and she anointed Jesus with it. And one of the disciples, everyone says it was Judas, but I don't know if it was, said, "This is wrong. She shouldn't have done that. We could have sold this if you'd given it to us and given the money to the poor and really helped people." And Jesus said, she's done it for me. We don't know how much he'd longed to just stop for a moment, being the one who was in charge, deciding what to do.
And moving towards what he knew was going to be the nightmare of his life.
Yeah, a huge question
and she
mark.
Wouldn't have known. She would not have known the full impact. But he did receive it.
He did. And he said to her, "No one's ever going to forget what you've done. Ever." And they're not, because we're talking about it now. So for her...
I do hope the woman has forgotten about us poking the the handle off her vase now.
Well, I'm sure she's not worried about it. She probably says to me, "Right, I remember these idiots coming and breaking my vase, but I made sure they paid for it. Don't worry." Anyway, I love little moments. I love little kindnesses. I love things that change the mould a bit. I love all of those.
And it'd be really nice next week, wouldn't it, to share some if anybody sends any more stories. And we've also got 1 or 2 other emails we'd love to share. So.
And we want to know what you would have done up that hill if you'd smashed that vase.
And you smashed the whole vase.
Better tell the truth.
The arm fell off it.
The handle. Yeah. Okay, so we'll wait and hear from you about that. Goodbye.